Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Costas, and today on the DNVR Rockies Podcast, it's talking baseball, postseason, the Yankees moving on, the Dodgers and Padres have a big game tonight as well. That's all coming up on the DNVR Rockies Podcast. It's talking baseball. What's up, everyone? Live from the Toyota Lounge. Such a gracious introduction by our good friend Bob Costas. What a nice thing for him to be able to introduce the show here. And we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about on the show today. First and foremost, Bob Costas, I think that was it for him calling games with the Yankees. Yankees moving on, and if I'm correct, that might be the last time we hear Bob Costas ever calling baseball again. So what a run for Bob Costas. He was incredible all the way up until this year. I just got to get that off my chest right here, right off the bat. We've talked about it a little bit, on the show before, but we all love Bob Costas. Just might be time to wrap that thing up. So happy to see some teams moving forward here. Mets, Yankees moving forward. We're going to talk about that. We've got obviously the biggest game of this entire year, and I'm going to go on record in saying this is the biggest game of the entire year tonight. Dodgers, Padres. It's going to be huge tonight. I have so much to talk about when it comes to that series. We're going to get into that here in just a moment. Eric Simmons, welcome into the Toyota chat. He's asking, who do you think wins? I'll give you that right off the bat. We are going to talk about Dodgers and Padres after this first segment, I should say. But I will give you my answer to that right now. I think the Padres take the win on the road, man. I don't know if that's my hope and optimism saying that I hope the Padres can win on the road, but I think they can pull it off. Padres are a hot team right now. Again, we're going to break it down as this gets going. But I want to start this show by talking a little bit about the Rockies. A little bit. Before we get into the postseason stuff. Because I was thinking about this, and I've been thinking about this a lot this past week, about why Rockies fans are so upset. And B, why there is this, I don't know, it feels like there's this gap between postseason teams and the Rockies. And I'm not talking just from a, X's and O's standpoint. Obviously, the Dodgers on paper are a much better team than the Rockies are. But I think it comes down to something that I was actually reading. I saw Purple Row put out a really good article on this, and they had this idea that I wanted to piggyback off of, and this thing called winning culture. And I think that is a big talking point when it comes to why the Rockies have struggled to get the fans involved with their team, get other players to come play for the Rockies, to just take that next step and to become a team like even the Royals, who I made comparisons to on the Wednesday show. And the reason I say that I think the lack of winning culture has caused the Rockies to be in a position like this is there isn't that commitment from the front office, from the ownership, that goes beyond just a casual, we're going to kind of throw some things at the wall and hopefully something sticks. And so what I mean by that is, how do you go about creating a winning culture in Colorado? Well, the way that I think of that is you've got to make the Rockies a destination for players, first and foremost. You have to make this a place that players want to come. And we know for years that has not been the case. Chris Bryant hasn't helped in that either, because you sign Chris Bryant to a nice big contract, and then he goes out a couple years later and puts out the statement saying, I maybe should have done some more research and thought about this a little bit more before I came here. Maybe this isn't the winning culture that I thought it was going to be. So how do you go and get players to want to go play for Colorado? Well, you have to show your commitment to winning. And the way you do that is by being very outward about that, by being very vocal, by being almost a little annoying about it. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Chicago Cubs owner just put out a statement today, basically kind of taking responsibility for the lack of success that the Cubs had this year. The White Sox put out a statement. A White Sox owner put out a statement taking responsibility for what happened to the White Sox this year. Even the A's owner, John Fisher, put out a statement this year talking about that. It wasn't, and Tiff, you said it wasn't well received. You're right, it wasn't. But to me, like, that's that vocal leadership, even if it was maybe ill-advised in some of those standpoints, where you're showing that, like, hey, we're at least showing we care. We're putting ourselves out there. You know, these owners know that they are going to get some heat for some of these things. But you have to make this a destination place for players, and you've got to do that by showing that you care and that you're committing to being a team that doesn't want to win, but will win. And I'll share this story. When I was getting out of college and I was starting to look into getting into broadcasting, I went into an interview with the Colorado Rapids. And the Rapids were at a point in their season or in their tenure where they were struggling a lot. And I remember the guy I was interviewing with. I don't remember who it was. I don't even know if he's still there with the Rapids, but it was on the social media side of things. And he had said, hey, look, when, you know, we know that this is a tough team right now. We're not winning. This, you know, the fans are kind of angry at our organization. But we also know that we will win. Like, we are going to get back to that. It's not a matter of if, but when. And I know our front office is making a lot of moves, and this is what's happening, and blah, blah, blah. And his thing that stuck with me is that he was like, this isn't just like we're having to get through these moments now. Yes, because that happens. That's part of sports franchises. Look at the Avs before they won a Stanley Cup. Look at the Nuggets before they won a championship. Like, these times happen, but we will get back to winning. And that stuck with me because his commitment, even just from a content side of things, was like, this team will get back to being good. And now the Rapids are going to be a postseason team, a playoff team this year. And you can see that commitment and aggression to winning starting to pay off on the back end for the Rapids. I just don't see that from the Rockies ownership. And I look at it, I remember this article, and I don't know if you guys remember when this came out. There was an article from Ken Rosenthal, and the article was titled, Why Front Office Changes for Underachieving Teams Appear Unlikely. He wrote that teams like the Blue Jays, Cardinals, Mariners, Giants, Reds, Pirates, all of those teams are unlikely to make changes during the offseason, despite having losing seasons. He had a bottom tier in his article of 4 bottom tier teams that he says, quote, don't even bother to try. That's the White Sox, the A's, the Marlins, and the Rockies. He says that most of these teams have something in common, which is the desire to be content with losing due to the team generating enough money to be comfortable. And I agree with him. Like, that sums up what's going on for the Rockies organization. The Rockies organization makes a boatload of money every year because it's a destination place for fans, not for players. And so fans end up showing up. The team generates enough money, and Dick Mumford says, hey, look, I would love to win. And anyone who says Dick Mumford doesn't care about winning you just don't know how business works. He does want to win. He, as a businessman, he'll be more successful if the Rockies go to the postseason. And he's also still making enough money to where it's not like I'm going to lose money every year if the Rockies aren't winning. And so, like, he's comfortable saying, you know what, we're going to try to win, but we're going to play it safe. We're going to take it easy. And if we throw some things at the wall and they happen to stick, great. If not, you know what, so be it. We're still going to make a lot of money. And that's where I think things need to shift. Burge said it here earlier in the chat, in the Toyota chat, where he said, you know, obviously being sarcastic. Meanwhile, has Bill Schmidt, well, not actually being sarcastic, asking a question. Has Bill Schmidt held a press conference explaining the season? No, he hasn't. And I'm being critical of that right now. Has Dick Mumford put out a statement acknowledging the consecutive 100-loss season for the Rockies? No, he has not. And I talked about it on Wednesday on the show about the Rockies not like that Bud Black wasn't the issue for the Rockies, and saying that I don't put the blame on the Rockies. But if the Rockies aren't going to acknowledge Bud Black as the issue, which he isn't, then they need to make other changes to be a postseason contending team. Obviously, we've got a long offseason here, but that's where I tend to get frustrated, and I wanted to kind of start the show by being a little critical of that, of saying, like, if you want to build a winning culture in Denver to compete with teams like the Padres, the Dodgers, the Mets, like pick your team, you have to start by committing to winning. Not saying we hope we win. I hope we get a nice winning season. Maybe we'll get 500 this year, but if not, whatever, we'll still sell tickets. No, you've got to commit to winning. Put that out there in the world, not just in a bland AI-generated, PR statement saying our commitment is to get to October baseball back in Denver. Like, no. I want to see the ownership saying we expect to be a postseason, if not World Series team by next year. And if we're not, we are holding ourselves accountable. And I want to share this quote to remind you guys of how Ken Rosenthal finished his article. In that article I was talking about teams like the Rockies. He finished his article by saying, quote, "In most cases, the problem starts with ownership, not the head of baseball operations or the coach. Financial commitment is one thing. Emotional commitment is another. And too many owners see no need to make that type of investment. Stability and continuity represent the easy way out, even when such noble concepts fail to produce result. When financial success is attainable without on-field success, why rock the boat?" End quote. That encapsulates the Rockies organization to me. That encapsulates what's going on in the front office and the ownership of the Colorado Rockies. When financial success is attainable without on-field success, why rock the boat? So my follow-up to that is, why are players going to want to come play for the Colorado Rockies if you're not willing to shake things up, to go sign some veterans, to smart deals, to go maybe get rid of some of your star players to build into that young rotation? Why would players want to come play for the Colorado Rockies? And Nick Castellanos had an interesting point that I wanted to softball lob out there to you guys, to at least to chew on a little bit this weekend. Nick Castellanos was asked about ownership incentives and if there should be punishments or penalties to consecutive losing seasons for teams. Because you see those teams like the White Sox, the A's, the Marlins, the Rockies, even the Mariners for a long time, or, the Orioles for a long time. Should ownership be punished for not going out and putting a good quality product out there on the field? And he didn't really have any solutions, but he did say that he believes they should. He was the one who kind of put that out there, saying, I think ownership should be penalized for not putting a successful product out there on the team. And so what would that look like? Would there be fines after 4 consecutive, and I'm spitballing here, but after 4 consecutive losing seasons, or 2 or more seasons losing 100 consecutive losses? Like, that's bad baseball. Should there be ownership fines? Should there be a board of directors not associated with financial success, but maybe a on-field player success, like a player board of directors or a veteran board of directors that can vote to limit ownership within a franchise if your team is not achieving winning seasons over an extended period of time? Because one of the things I was seeing on Twitter and on social media when I'm posting talking about, Bud Black, or, what the issue is with the Rockies and all of that kind of stuff is, people say, well, don't fire Bud Black. The person you should fire is the person you can't fire, and that's the ownership. And you're right. I'm not saying that Dick Monfort should be fired. I'm saying, there's no accountability when you're the ownership, because you have all the money in the world, and it's up to you what you want to do with that. And again, I go back to Dick Monfort isn't trying to lose. Rockies fans get a little dramatic, and I'm going to slightly defend Dick Monfort here, and that's a terrible way of putting it. But Rockies fans can get a little emotional, understandably so, by saying like, Dick Monfort just wants us to lose. He doesn't care because he's got money in his pocket. I do think he cares because he would make more money if they were going to the postseason every year. But because the Rockies are making enough money not going to the postseason, he's okay not putting himself out there beyond where he's at right now. And I think there's a word that encapsulates that, and that's being stubborn. Like he's a stubborn businessman. And I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. And I don't hate Dick Monfort. I'm just, as a business person, a person with a business background in my own context, not obviously to the same level that Dick Monfort has, I'm allowed to be critical of the business dealings of Dick Monfort. You want to go make a boatload of money? Go get October baseball back in Colorado. I will die on the hill that the Rockies being a postseason team will be the single biggest event in Colorado sports in the month of October. And that's competing with CU, with the Avs, with the Broncos. I will die on the hill that if you have postseason baseball in Colorado, it will be the biggest event in Colorado during that time. You want to go make a lot of money? Get your team back to the postseason. And that starts by outwardly committing to excellence, to winning. So just something to chew on there. Also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Twins, their owner just now announced that he's planning on selling the team. So, you never know. You never know. Got to take a quick break. But after the break, we've got to talk postseason baseball. Dodgers, Padres, that's happening here just later tonight. We had some teams that already got the clinching win and are moving on in the postseason. But I want to talk about why this postseason has been good for baseball. All of the ups and downs. It's been incredible. But before we get into that, got to take a break and give a shout out to our sponsors, starting with our friends over at Blue Chew. Are you looking for an opportunity to boost your confidence in the bedroom? Well, you need to check out Blue Chew. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, but it's a fraction of the cost. And the best part about it is it comes in a chewable form. The process is super simple. You can go over to bluechew.com. You can consult online with some of their medical professionals. And the really nice thing about that is you don't have to go into a doctor's office. You don't got to sit there in a waiting room or have awkward conversations in person with doctors. You can do it all online from the comfort of your home. And the nice thing is once you have that conversation with a medical provider and you get Blue Chew delivered discreetly to your door, you can take them anytime, day or night. When the opportunity arises, you can plan ahead and be ready whenever that moment pops up. We all know it sneaks up on you sometimes. You want to be ready when it counts. So right now, check out our friends over at Blue Chew, and we've got some exclusive and special deals for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use promo code ALLCITY. That's all capital, all caps. ALLCITY at checkout. You just pay $5 for shipping, which is nothing, and then you get a nice little package there for you. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank you, Blue Chew, for sponsoring our podcast. Also got to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time. There has never been a better time to be a fan than right now. You see on your screen, Game Time app is just an incredible way to get tickets for concerts, theater, sporting events, whatever that is. Game Time has you covered, and they've got Game Time Picks, which filters through all the different fluff to get you the best seats possible for the best prices possible as you get closer to game time. Literally, as you get closer to the time of game to kick off for the Broncos game this weekend. We'll use that as an example. The tickets get cheaper. Everything gets more affordable, and Game Time really is the best when it comes to getting tickets. So you can also get your tickets covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, folks. Let's talk postseason. The network ratings are in. And this has been the biggest postseason, the highest postseason ratings for MLB so far in the history of baseball. Network ratings are up 41%. Wild card ratings have already set records. Stadiums are packed and fired up. And the interesting part about this is that it's not just the large markets that are like showing up for high-level postseason baseball. We're talking Cleveland I know that's a large sports market, but baseball, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City. Again, not huge baseball markets that are showing up and electric right now for this postseason baseball. So why is that the case? Why are we seeing this big uptick in energy, excitement, whatever you have for postseason baseball? Well, the first thing for me that I think is far and away the biggest reason that this postseason baseball has been the best in the history of baseball is people are showing up for the stars. Kansas City Royals, who just got eliminated. Bobby Witt Jr., an MVP candidate, on a team had 106 losses just a year ago, gives us Rockies fans hope. You got an MVP candidate, in the mix there playing in Kansas City. The Yankees obviously have 2, maybe 3 of the best players in the American League. The Dodgers, the Padres, like Shohei Ohtani, best player in the history of baseball so far. Like, these are teams that are putting the best product out there on the field, and players and fans, I should say, want to show up. They want to be involved. And that's the first thing for me is you're giving fans a reason to show up. The second thing, rivalries. This is some of the best rivalry games I've seen in a long time. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's a rivalry, there's a Boston and New York documentary that's coming out here soon. And that's coming out on Netflix. And I saw that, and that looks incredible. It's showing how rivalries are one of the coolest things in all of baseball. And we've got the New York Mets, the Phillies, the Padres, the Dodgers, Detroit, Cleveland. Like, it's rivalry baseball right now in the postseason. And rivalries are being born as well. Like, there's series that, are starting to adapt into rivalries. Detroit and Cleveland has been incredible. The Padres and the Dodgers, look, I know the Dodgers and the Padres, anytime you play the Dodgers, it's interdivision, it's going to be rivalry baseball, but that's the most incredible form of baseball that there is. And so the fact that the Dodgers and Padres are going back to back tonight, oh man, I am so fired up. So it bodes the question, or boasts the question, who's the Rockies' biggest rival? I talk about the Rockies. If they make it to the postseason, at some point, it's going to be the most electric sporting experience in all of Colorado at that point. Well, who's the biggest rivals that the Rockies could play in the postseason? Would it be the Dodgers, which I could go on record and say that, I would say the Dodgers would be a pretty big rivals that the Rockies could play. Padres, if you're going back into the history of, Rockies and Padres, they have some deep history there. But rivalry baseball is just unmatched, across all of sports. I was really hoping to see a Yankees-Mets matchup at some point. I think that would have been really cool. Obviously, you always hope to see a Yankees-Red Sox matchup, anytime the Yankees are in the postseason. Not going to happen this year. But it just goes to show that, baseball right now is truly at the peak of where it is. Eric Simmons in the Twitter chat says maybe the Dodgers. What do you think is their biggest rival? Are you asking what do you think the Dodgers' biggest rival? If I'm answering who I think the Dodgers' biggest rival is, I actually think it's the Giants. I think the Giants and Dodgers are the biggest rivalry in the National League. I mean, like I said, I think the Dodgers, anytime they play anyone, are a rivalry game. Here's the issue with the Rockies, though, is you have to be like consistently kind of good against these teams, and the Rockies just haven't been like, they don't have the history of like playing deep, hate-rooted baseball against some of these teams. Like the reason I brought up the Padres in a rivalry game for the Rockies is because the Rockies beat the Padres in game 163, years ago. So, that leads me to feel like, okay, that could have been a rooted rivalry right there. Will Carpenter, says Arizona. Sure, I could see that. The issue with the Arizona rivalries is I think Arizona, like their fan base isn't as intense. Like look at like New York and Boston or San Francisco and Los Angeles. Like those are fan bases that just go hard and they have a winning history to back them up. And so like that's where I lean towards those rivalries being huge. I don't know. I mean, if I'm saying who my biggest rivalry is for the Rockies, I think the Dodgers also because we have so many transplant Dodger fans here in Colorado that it would be an insane and intense series in Colorado. Like if you were playing a Dodgers-Rockies game, I would hope that Rockies fans buy out the majority of the tickets at Coors Field, but there would definitely be some Dodger fans at Coors Field. And man, that'd be dangerous. That would be actually pretty dangerous. I've been privy to some Dodger-Giants games in the past in the postseason format, and it is dangerous. But yeah, that's fun baseball. We got fun baseball coming up tonight. Interesting thing to look at when you're looking at this game tonight. National League teams with a bye have still never won a series in the new postseason format, which is crazy to me. So since the postseason format was shifted in 2022, the 6th seed has made the World Series for the National League every year. Philadelphia in 2022, Arizona in 2023. That's crazy. I saw that on Fox. They had talked about that and talking about how some of these teams were a little like upset that they got, these top seeded teams, Philadelphia, for example, were kind of upset that their season, after having an incredible run and clinching that top spot in the National League, you get to the postseason, you get a bye week, and then you get bounced in 5 games. And I get it. I get the frustration of, being upset that like you got eliminated. Your entire season came down to a best of 5. But I also think, that's just kind of baseball. Like that's the way it goes sometimes, especially for a wild card series. And you see it in teams like, God, even the Diamondbacks, who imploded towards the end of their year. They played some of the best baseball of the entire MLB, and all the way up until the last month, and then they just kind of imploded. Like that's baseball to me. But it brought up the question of, should Major League Baseball make an adjustment? Should they shift into a 7-game series for those teams that get into a bye week or a bye, get that bye by clinching the top seed in their division? I kind of like where we're at right now. Like it's a small sample size first, but also I don't have a problem with the teams like the Phillies or even the Dodgers tonight getting bounced in the first round. Like, yeah, they're incredible teams, but the Mets are on a roll. They're some of the most exciting team. They're one of the most exciting teams to watch in baseball right now. The Padres, if they were to win tonight, would be another incredibly exciting team to watch through the rest of this postseason. It's not like these boring teams are getting in. It's not like TCU when TCU got into the national championship and got like steamrolled by, what was it, Michigan that year? Was that the year that they beat? Or no, it was Georgia. It was Georgia that just crushed TCU. And you're like, okay, what was TCU doing in a national championship? They just kind of snuck in there. I mean, like, this is baseball. Like, that's what happens sometimes. The Rangers, another example of that. The Diamondbacks, So I don't have a problem with where we are right now and the current format of this postseason that we're seeing in the major leagues. But I understand, look, if the Rockies went out next year and won 106 games and were the top seed in the National League West, dethroning the Dodgers, and then got bounced in the first round, maybe I'd be complaining. Like, sure. But the grass is always greener. Like, it's all perspective. But I do feel like the postseason format for where we're at right now is fine. I don't have a problem with it. But we'll see tonight. I'm hoping. I have a hard time rooting for the Padres, but fingers crossed that they can get the win against the Dodgers because, my God, beat LA all the way. We're going to take a quick break here on the show. When we come back from this break, though, I got to talk a little bit about that little benches clearing incident between the Yankees and the Royals. There was some excitement going on out there on the field. Dodgers fans getting hot up in our mentions. I don't know if you guys have been following the DNVR Rockies Twitter, but I posted on DNVR Rockies Twitter kind of trolling Dodgers fans because Max Muncy was being a little soft in one of his post-game pressers, and Dodger fans were not too happy about it. So we're going to talk about that when we come back from this break. But first, I want to share some love with our friends, a new friend of ours here sponsoring the show. That's the Upswing Foundation. The Upswing Foundation is a Colorado youth sport nonprofit working to connect people and, as they put it, catapult dreams. They're based here in Colorado. They utilize some of our Mile High training grounds here in the beautiful state of Colorado, and they provide access and world-class programs for kids of all backgrounds. And like I said, it's a nonprofit, so it's a really cool thing to kind of get behind. And they allow kids of all backgrounds to get partnered up with some of the top athletes in the area, and it's a fun place to get involved for kids under the age of 18 to get out there, to train, to have fun, to just be a kid and be around other sports and athletes. And right now, they've got an open house coming up on November 3rd from 1 to 3 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. So you can come and meet some of the performance coordinators, dance coaches, whatever it is. Kids can experience performance sports training, dance classes, and even recovery education. They show you how to recover correctly. That's a pretty cool thing. Something that I wish I had learned more when I was a kid. So you got to RSVP if you're interested before October 18th. You can reserve a spot. Athletes under the age of 18 can sign up for classes at upswingfoundation.com/login or by downloading the Upswing Foundation app. And also, they've got a cool deal for DNVR listeners. You can get 20% off all services when you use promo code DNVR20 at checkout. Upswing offers scholarships to qualifying athletes under the age of 18 to train in sports performance, dance, and recovery in their new state-of-the-art facility in Centennial, Colorado. The deadline to apply for winter period is October 11th, 2024. But those scholarships do run year-round, so you can apply anytime through this upcoming season. Also want to share some love with our friends over at Coors Light. One of the most challenging things about this year right now is we don't have baseball in Colorado. We don't have baseball at Coors Field. So, just because we don't have baseball at Coors Field doesn't mean you can't enjoy some nice, cold, refreshing Coors Light. We got a bucket of Coors Light right here in front of me. We've got some watch parties going on at the bar behind us today. It's just going to be an incredible time here at the bar. We've got Avs kicking off their season, the Broncos tailgate coming up this weekend. It's still a good time to get out into nature. The leaves are still yellow. They're still yellow around the area out here. So Coors Light goes well with any of those environments. You don't need my reference though to go enjoy some cold, refreshing Coors Light. It goes well with anything. Even if you're just sitting out on the porch enjoying a nice fall afternoon here in Colorado, crack open a nice cold, refreshing Coors Light. Embrace that chill mindset and choose to chill. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill by choosing Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instant Cart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Please celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado. All right, let's talk a little bit. I'm getting hot here. Tiff, are you feeling hot in this studio? I'm also I'm talking about it's fall and it's beautiful outside, and I'm wearing a hoodie with a flannel on.
You have
drenched
at
in
least
sweat.
3 layers on currently. I don't know how.
I think
50 degrees.
Well,
and
I
people
took
panic.
the dogs on a walk this morning, and I was like, all right, it's cold. Like we slept with the window open. Like I was getting a nice breeze in there. I woke up and it was like in the 40s. And I'm like, all right, it's chilly. So I put on the hoodie and the flannel. And even getting to work this morning, I was like, all right, it's chilly outside. Like it feels good. Like I felt perfectly adequate in the outfit that I'm wearing. And now that I'm in studio, we've got these lights on. I am just dripping. Like it's rough. If I was wearing makeup, just running down my face, that'd be rough. So I might have to layer down. It might happen. I'm gonna do my best to get through the rest of this show. I didn't even give myself water. Should I crack open an ice cold, refreshing Coors Light? That might be the way we go. We're just going through the grind here. But look, you know who's going through the grind right now? And I opened the show with this. Bob Costas. Can someone look it up? Is Bob Costas calling games for any remainder of the season? Of the postseason? Because look, I love Bob. He's been an incredible broadcaster his entire career, Hall of Famer. I don't know if you guys remember, he was in Cars. He was the broadcaster in Cars, the movie. But hearing some of his calls this last week, man. And I know, Eric, you were saying it earlier in the chat when I opened the show with the Bob Costas impersonation, but like, Bob, it's time to hang it up, man. Like you've run your course. End while you still can with some dignity. Oh, you brought me some water. Oh, thank you. I'm gonna just like put this on my face here. Take a quick. I know. If only we had pre-recorded actual commercials, like that we could have that ran. That would help as well. But we're going here. It's an hour straight of talking. But no, look, Bob is kind of turning into like the Vin Scully, and that's fine when you are a hometown local broadcaster, sharing stories for your team. I get it. Vin Scully was incredible sharing stories of the Dodgers players and whatever. I mean, he even had some great Rockies stories whenever the Dodgers would play the Rockies. But when you're doing nationally broadcasted games, especially postseason games, where like this is the best baseball, I wait 162 games to watch postseason baseball. It's the most electric form of baseball there is, and it's unrivaled. It really is. And we're going to talk about that later in the show about where baseball ranks in the postseason sports. But I got to have some energy there. Like I've got to be feeling the excitement. And you're calling games at Yankee Stadium and the Royal Stadium in Kansas City, and and they're just like there's just home runs that are being hit or double plays that get you out of an inning, and Bob's just like it's like he's narrating a documentary. And he shared a story yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it. He was talking about one of they had dedicated a seat at the stadium to someone. I was kind of listening while doing some cleaning, so I didn't hear who they were talking about. But I remember like perking up and being like, that's what Bob Costas is good at. Like he's sharing an emotional story. It sounds like he's doing a documentary read. Like that's great. That is solid from Bob. But when he's doing what did he say? What did he say when they turned the double play and the Yankees clinched and they're moving on, and he was like, and that's all, folks. And it's like, what? Like, dude, give me some umph. Like, I know the Yankees won it on the road, so like sometimes it's hard to like get that energy in a visiting and in a road series win. But like Adam Amin could do it. Like, I mean, God, Joe Buck used to do it. Like Joe Davis does it. Like they're like these guys can. I know there's a level there. Like you as a broadcaster know how to get the energy out of the moment, even if the crowd isn't doing it. So, anyways, I'm not going to ramble anymore about Bob Costas. I love the former Bob Costas. Just I hope he's not calling any more games. That's all. We did have our first benches clearing moment of the postseason, and shocker, it was not Padres Dodgers, although it's been close to that a couple times. It was Yankees Royals. Jazz Chisholm and Maikel Garcia although Jazz Chisholm wasn't really involved in it at first. He kind of came out and joined into it as it went on. But there was a little, heated exchange. No punches were thrown, none of that. A little heated exchange. I did send you a picture, Tiff, if you want to get that ready. This is what caused the little exchange. You can see there, yep, there was the elbow there. I believe it was Volpe, the second baseman, who kind of during the tag went to put the tag on Garcia, who slid a little bit late. Elbow went up there. Yeah, I don't really think it was intentional. I really don't. I actually think Volpe was not trying to do that. It was just that late kind of nature of the tag. He went down with his glove towards the base. Garcia kind of slid late. He ended up, his momentum kind of kept him falling into Garcia. And that's how it ended up happening. And then I think Volpe realized, I did elbow you in the face. I didn't really mean to do that. Gets up, he pats him on the back hey, man, we're good. And he even kind of started, when he realizes that tensions were flaring, started trying to walk him back, being hey, we're good. Jazz Chisholm took issue to that. And if you guys didn't see this, after the game, Jazz Chisholm put out a quote, or responded in quote, saying he tried to injure Volpe. He was being a sore loser, talking about Garcia. He tried to injure Volpe. He was being a sore loser. He was talking a lot on Instagram and Twitter. I do the same thing, but I'm not going to try and injure someone if they're winning a game, end quote. Jazz, I don't really think he was trying to injure him. I just think he was trying to slide into second base. I don't know. It didn't feel overly pretentious to me until Garcia kind of got up a little slow, and then Jazz Chisholm kind of came in. And then, anytime there's staring and whatever, and Garrett Cole, he brought out his Kermit the Frog voice, and he started chirping from the mound. It's gonna get a little tiffy. No offense, Tiff.
I know, it's always fun.
Yeah,
so a little tiff.
Throw a little tiff in there. Throw a little tiff in that. Yeah, love it. So I do think there is a chance that we see some energy and chaos coming out of the game tonight. Dodgers and Padres playing an elimination game in LA. Can we take an over-under bet, Tiff, on how much trash gets thrown onto the field? Can we go over-under 1.5 beer cans?
Can I do over-under how many minutes it's going to waste of time? I would say it's going to be over 10.
All right, in the Toyota chat, I want to get your guys' thoughts. I'm gonna put this out there. Over-under, how many beer cans do we think end up on the field at Dodger Stadium tonight? I'm going to set that at 2.5 beer cans. 2.5 beer cans. That's it. I'm going to say that's it.
I'm going more.
You're going over. Okay, so you're going over. What about, you were saying how much time is wasted? Over under how many minutes of baseball gets wasted because of
shenanigans,
stoppage, due to shenanigans. I'm going to say we'll set that bar at 10.5 minutes. So we'll make a nice even 10.5 minutes, because we saw, 18 minutes of stoppage last game at Dodger Stadium. I'm going to go 10.5 minutes. So we'll go with that. And I said in our thumbnail, our thumbnail graphic, good for the game. I know it's never fun to see, or it's never, I shouldn't say never fun. That's good. That would contradict what I'm about to say. It's never, mature to see things being thrown on the field, to have that kind of stuff. And you never want to see someone get hurt, especially due to that kind of thing. But I do think the energy, the hatred, the vitriol, the disgust between these two teams and these two fan bases is good for baseball. Again, there needs to be some protection. There needs to be some safety involved here. I don't want to see someone get hurt. No one needs to get hurt for this. And I want to see people fired the F up. I want to see Dodgers fans verbally being Dodgers fans. I want to see Padres players. I want to see Fernando Tatis taunting Dodgers fans with every ounce of his body. I want to see Manny Machado telling, who was it, Flaherty in the dugout for the Dodgers that he'll meet him outside after the game. Like, I want to see Dave Roberts accusing Manny Machado of murder by throwing a ball towards the dugout. I am ready for the shenanigans, man. I am so ready for this game. I wish baseball had a little more of this oomph behind it. I think people would get involved with that. It's why I love hockey so much. But I'm so ready for that. We're going to take one more break. And after the break, I got to show you this tweet that Dodgers fans are so salty about in my mentions. And we're going to rank the best sports to watch in the postseason. That's it. That's a preview. Tiff was getting ahead of herself. But we got to pause, take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. All right, that was your break. And we're back here on the DNVR Rockies broadcast. Tiff, was that enough of a break for you? Did you? That was solid. Okay. All right, we're making sure. We're making sure we're getting it down on the dot too. 15 minutes left in the show. There you go. Dodgers fans are celebrating. Dodgers players are celebrating. This was the tweet that got Dodgers fans so riled up. It's over 2,000 likes. The comments are unhinged. It's incredible. There was a tweet the context here is that Max Muncy went out there and said, I don't know, I can't really see it from here. I don't remember what he said, but something like, oh, they're trying to show us up. They're trying to show us up by getting under our skin by bat flipping after singles. You're talking about the Padres fans, which is the softest thing in the world. Like, dude, it's the postseason. Like, I don't care if you freaking, bunt, get a sacrifice bunt. I am pimping sacrifice bunts in the postseason. That's what I'm doing. So soft, very soft, Max Muncy. So I responded, or the DNVR Rockies account responded by saying, meanwhile, Dodgers players, anytime they do anything, this is what they do, and they're dancing, and rightfully so. I don't care what the Dodgers do. I was just trolling Max Muncy.
I was gonna say, it does not seem in any instance that you were trolling Dodgers fans.
Yeah,
in this
just trolling
instance.
Max Muncy for being soft. And Dodgers fans, my God, go see some of these tweets, man. They're brutal. They're so funny, and a lot of them were like missing the point too, where they were like responding, being like, saying, like every team celebrates. I'm like, okay, that's not the point. Like that's what I'm saying. It's that's your own player was the one who said that. So it's all good and fun. I just love getting under Dodgers fan skin. If you would like to see an account that is all anti-Dodgers, if the Dodgers lose tonight, and maybe even if they don't, but especially if they lose tonight, I've got some rounds in the clip loaded up on that on our DNVR Rockies Twitter. I don't care, by the way. I'm going to put this out there now. I don't care that the Rockies had 101 losses this year. I don't care that the Rockies are irrelevant in the postseason. You're right. Dodgers fans are right. Like, it's low-hanging fruit to go say, oh, what is this poverty franchise doing in my mentions? We're at least in the postseason. Yeah, but if you get bounced in the first round after spending $1 billion, who would you rather be? You spend $1 billion. You say poverty franchise. You spend $1 billion in the offseason just to get bounced in the first round? Okay. All right. Who has it worse? Whatever. We'll get into that. We'll get into that later. We'll see what happens tonight. I want to pose the question here for you guys, and I put this out on Twitter. What's the best sport to watch in the postseason? And Tiff, before I give you my intake on this, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I'm biased.
We're talking of the major sports. No, and I think you and I might actually agree here. I genuinely think we might agree. Give me a ranking of your best postseason sports.
I would say hockey, basketball, baseball, football, March Madness. I could not care less about March Madness.
Okay. So I agree with you on hockey. 100%. Hockey is like the most electric postseason atmosphere I've ever seen. And I got to experience that firsthand when I moved to Colorado as a non-hockey fan, because I grew up in Seattle where we didn't have like professional hockey.
At the time.
I literally left the year the Kraken became a thing. So my first year like watching NHL hockey was a Stanley Cup. So hockey is unrivaled. And to circle back here on context-wise, there was a post that's trending on Twitter right now where someone said, there's really people in my mentions saying that baseball, postseason baseball, is better than basketball, and it like is getting ratio because people are saying like postseason baseball is actually pretty damn incredible. Like, yeah, I understand baseball isn't everyone's cup of tea, but postseason baseball, if you know baseball and can enjoy baseball from a like knowledge standpoint, is electric. And so I posted on Twitter, the clip of Game 163 for the Rockies, saying like, come on, like that's as good as it gets. My rankings. Sorry if I just screamed into the mic there. My rankings for best sports to watch in the postseason. Hockey is number one, unrivaled, unmatched, number one most exciting thing to watch in the postseason. March Madness basketball, NCAA basketball. Number two, men and women too, like both electric. Like I've covered March Madness. I've been a fan through March Madness. My team is Gonzaga. I went to Gonzaga for graduate school. I covered Gonzaga when I was working in Spokane. So like, never had the national championship, I know, but I've had some incredible moments. Baseball's number three. Because it truly is one of the best products, sporting products in the postseason, or can be some of the best sporting products in sports. Football is four. I do think, an NFL football game going into the playoffs is incredible. And basketball is five. NBA basketball is five. Now I know, and I have all the love in the world for Nuggets fans. And Nuggets as a team. I'm a Nuggets fan myself. I was there at the DNVR bar getting lit for every single Nuggets postseason game. Nuggets, Lakers, like, my God, that was the greatest thing in the world. But I go back to it. If the Rockies were to win a World Series in the state of Colorado, I think it would be as big, if not bigger, than the Nuggets championship run. At least as big. People don't realize, and again, I think there's a lot of people who just like aren't really baseball fans, so they don't know this, they aren't aware of this, but people don't realize like baseball. There are a million baseball fans here in Colorado that just because the Rockies just kind of aren't really relevant, really, let's be honest, through the regular season and especially into the postseason. They just don't really care. So they casually go to a couple games each year and they just shrink back into the shadows, and I get it. I don't blame them. But if the Rockies were to become a postseason team, I do think those fans pour out of the woodworks like cockroaches during a flood. Like everyone is coming out to Coors Field. And it becomes the biggest sporting event in the city that year if the Rockies were to win a World Series.
What's going to be bigger, the Savannah Bananas or the Rockies in a World Series?
I mean, if the Rockies go to a World Series, I've had diehard Broncos fans tell me that if the Rockies go to a World Series, it would be as big as when the Broncos won the Super Bowl. And that's coming from Broncos fans. So like, I'm not the only one saying this. So if the Rockies went to a World Series, it would be bigger than the Savannah Bananas. Do I think the Savannah Bananas will be the biggest event of the year if the Rockies don't make it to the postseason next year? Yes, absolutely. Savannah Bananas will be the biggest event at Coors Field next year if the Rockies are not a postseason team. But again, like I said, I have heard this from Broncos fans, from Nuggets fans, even from some Avs fans. Although hockey and baseball somehow don't really like overlap very much. There's not like a big fandom between the two that like overlap. The majority of like the Rockies hate that I get on Twitter is actually from Avs fans, which I'm like, okay, come on, Avs sucked for forever. Like we've had those moments too. Just because the Avs are an incredible team now that I also love and will support. Like we can do both. Like come on, but I get it. The Rockies need to earn that. They need to earn that. But I have heard it from Broncos fans, Nuggets fans. That if the Rockies go to a World Series, it would be the biggest thing since like the Broncos won the Super Bowl or went to the Super Bowl. God, it would be so fun. I said this on Monday, and I'm sorry to like just keep going back to this, but like I just can't help but watch this postseason and just think like the Rockies deserve to be a playoff team. And I think it's why I get so irritated sometimes when like I see the front office being kind of stubborn or being kind of complacent, and I get kind of pissed off because I know how amazing, how intense it would be, how incredible it would be here in Colorado if the Rockies were to go to the postseason. If we were to even if we had a wild card series in Colorado. Hell, I'll even go as far as to say, even if we had a road wild card series, like if we somehow snuck it, like the Mets, if we had a Mets wild card series where we just snuck in and we had to go on the road and play 3 consecutive games or two games to get to the to even get, postseason baseball back to Colorado. Like, it would be incredible. The DNVR bar would be standing room only. There would be 20,000 people in a gated off section of Coors Field. Like, it would be electric. So I talked earlier in the show about how to get there. I don't know if they're going to do it, but there's a formula. They just got to be a little bit more aggressive, a little less stubborn, get out of their own way a little bit. We're going to wrap it up here on this Friday. I'm hot. I got to go take an ice bath or something, go dunk my head in some water. We got a good weekend ahead of us here at DNVR. DNVR Broncos tailgate this Sunday. I am planning to go to that DNVR Broncos tailgate. That's going to be a lot of fun. You can find more information on that at thednvr.com/events. The Avs back in action on tomorrow, right, Tiff? Saturday? Back at home as well.
Home opener.
My God, I know that.
Let's just pretend, yes, the other day did not happen.
We are. We're going to never talk about goalies ever again when it comes
Opening night tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. We're going to never talk about goalies ever again here at DNVR.
Tune in to the DNVR Avs pod at 1:45 where we will be talking about goalies.
Tiff is a biased and rightfully so Avs fan and producer and lover of all things Avs. Avs are back at it again. That's going to be a lot of fun. So check them out. DNVR Avalanche, all of the coverage there. CU is doing a tailgate as well on Saturday. So head out to Boulder. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of drinks, a lot of good times to be had by all. That's going to do it for us. You can follow me on Twitter at CJJ if you have not already. You can follow us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. I am Christian Saez. Shout out to our super producer, Tiff. That's going to be it for us here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. As always, we appreciate you guys for spending your time with us. We will see you guys on Monday here on the DNVR Rockies podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.